Okay, what I'm going to try to do here is explain what happened to me one night at the Galano Club when I was attending a Crystal Meth Anonymous meeting. Now, basically, this meth vendor follows the 12-step program, and a big part of the 12-step program is acknowledging that we are powerless and to overcome our addiction to the crystal meth or any kind of addiction without some kind of belief in a higher power. Well, I'm a medical atheist, and this is something that I really can't do. As opposed to a higher power, I believe in a lower power, which is basically what we're standing on. Without our earth stand on, then there would be no need to believe in a higher power. So I just do not believe in God. And in order for me, and the way the 12-step program works, I've done research, is not so much for the people who show up wanting to get off the, but for the people who, by the time you show up for that, it's volunteering, it's by the draw by attraction rather than by promotion. So by the time someone goes there, they're already admitting this. They've already gone through all of this, as far as I'm concerned. That's the easy part. That's the easy part for the 12-step program. It just first somebody has to admit that they have an addiction. It's basically another church is what it is. When I try to talk about what bothered me and what could help me get off the crystal meth addiction, it's going to have to deal with my lack of faith, and they can't deal with it. Anything that conflicts with their belief in a higher power, helping them get off the basically they don't have conviction in their faith in this higher power. If they can't listen, that means they won't have to say it. So when I finally got the courage to speak, I thought I would try reading something that a dialogue exchange between me and someone named Becky. Basically, I'm having a problem. Well, she responded to a blog article, and Bert Gary, that's Bert Gary, he wrote a book, Jesus and Flood. He's Methodist. I was raised Methodist, although I'm atheist now. Those are his parents, Bob, George Robert Gary Sr., Doctor of Theology, and his wife Janet Sr. Their son Bert is George Robert Gary Jr. He's the Master of Divinity, while his father had a Master of Divinity and Doctor of Theology. So what is Doctor of Theology? Is basically further education with its emphasis on human psychology. Well, I see that as an oxymoron, a conflict with Master of Divinity, which is more like faith than anything. Anyway, Becky, I'm having a problem with this family. We're having a feud, and I noticed that Becky responded to one of Bert's blog articles, and I wrote back to her, not to her on Bert's side, but to her own blog, Angle of Reflection. And this is basically how it went. Becky, your poems are so sad yet so beautiful. I hope my comment into your blog does not upset you. Although I consider myself an antichrist, I do like Jesus. I like your Christ. I do not like your Christian. Your Christians are so unchristlike. This was said by Gandhi. One can be a follower of Jesus without believing in the divinity of Jesus Christ. I do agree with you in your discussion with Bert Gary on his blog, Infinity Now, living for all eternity in the present. Our breath does return to God's glory, even while still living. And this is John 5:30. By myself, I can do nothing. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just. For I seek not to please myself, but him who sent me. Again, this is John 5:30, quoting Jesus. Your poems are indeed beautiful prayers, and this is how I see returning God's glory. We breathe in, we breathe out. When we breathe out, that's how we speak. We cannot speak at the same time breathing in. So our breath does return to God's glory, including, my God, why have you forsaken me? That was Jesus returning God's glory. Then I signed it, Simply Jim, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. Becky wrote back to me. Becky said, hello, Simply Jim. Thank you for your consideration of my poetry. I forgot about this website. I probably should take it down because these poems are mostly about the struggle I went through before I became a true Christian. I studied the Bible on my own or as the Holy Spirit led me to do. I do believe in the deity of Jesus Christ. There are many people named Jesus now, as well as back in the first century, but only one Jesus had a book written about him. Well, it was pretty much our first book. You're not going to wait, as it was so labor intensive to write a book back then. You're going to wait until you have a damn good story before you put all that time into it. So that was just, and there's always the first time for everything. Anyway, and God had a gospel written about him. And if I believe in that Jesus, I must believe in what he says about himself and what he quotes from the Old Testament. Miracles happen all the time. Things that we cannot explain by common and normal understanding. Oh, well, that's just not an excuse. When I came across Bert Gary's article, it reminded me, and this article was about Einstein, how we are all living eternity in the present. You're just going to go on Bert's blog and read that yourself. Anyway, when I came across Bert Gary's article, it reminded me of my past walk on this journey. You can read my contradictions in my post, can't you? It's like my contradiction in some of these poems that I wrote. I've come a long way in my walk since then, and if there's one thing I'm convinced about, it's Jesus' deity. There is something in all of us that needs to believe in immortality. Not me. God put eternity into our minds and hearts when he made us. Not mine. Try reading the Holy Bible with an open mind and heart, and if you believe in prayer, I don't, then ask for answers with an open mind and heart. Jesus said, ask in my name and you will receive. Keep knocking and the door will be open to you. Develop a relationship with Jesus. I already have one. The Christ, not that one. Let him love you as one of his own. This is my prayer for you, Jim. God bless you. Prayer. Simply Jim, me, right back. Simply Jim said, thank you for responding back to me, Becky. The very thought that you think you should take the forgotten poem down because they represent a part of your past you prefer not being reminded of is the very problem with the rest of everything you had to say about your belief that Jesus is Christ. Not all of us can express our sadness, grief, confusion as creatively as you did. They serve a purpose once for you, helping you get to where you are today. They can still help others in the same phase in life you once were, getting where they need to be in. Without the creative outlet, you could have been bipolar, unipolar, depressive, exhibiting manic behavior, etc. This phrase you use, true Christian, such an oxymoron, and this is where they shut me down. I got shut down, and right before I started saying this, I said, hopefully you'll let me finish, and then this will maybe help me filter out the one, basically the parts of the one that are helped most by the 12-step program. One thing, and all these people are big talkers. They love to talk. And some people are good talkers, some people aren't. What I'm trying to explain to them is those that, and they also try to insist that their way is the only way to do it. Yes, it worked for them, but it doesn't work for everybody. That's called confirmation bias. And the fact that they did not let me finish made it harder for me to find a sponsor. I was hoping that they would come to me, the one that would not be so sensitive about their faith, but they shut me down right there. And this is what they missed out on. This phrase you use, true Christian, such an oxymoron, as Jesus himself is not dictating what is and what is not a true Christian. If the life he lived and died cannot stand on its own, have meaning, without believing in the divinity of Jesus Christ, then I'm not sure I even understand the example that he lived. What the example was that he lived. As it was a very long one, and I couldn't send it on one, send. I had to break it up. That's where I broke it, and resent it, and I continued. The sad fact remains: we will never know the truth until the day we die. Then we are free. Our fate is set. Plus, you cannot take what Jesus said then, repeat it today, and have it mean the same thing. You just cannot do this. Not even Jesus himself could. This is called pragmatic competence, and it's our attention that creates our reality. Some of us have to be charming. It is my understanding that Jesus did not have to be charming and kind and just, and it takes a surplus of some kind being able to do this. Those with a surplus are better able controlling their circumstances. Those without are controlled by them. One is not always able exercising good judgment. He had some sort of surplus, and he exercised judgment he did not have to. This is simply not conforming to the norm choices others would have chosen against their will. Plus, a truly virtuous man would come to the aid of a distant stranger equally as he would a close friend. Then again, a truly virtuous man would have no friend. If you read the words carefully, Jesus said during the last